When you picture a Roman emperor, what do you see? A proud Italian noble? A marble-skinned conqueror from the heart of the Republic? But for over 2 decades, the most powerful man in the known world wasn't from Rome or even Italy. He was born thousands of miles away, on the scorching shores of North Africa. He spoke Latin with an accent, and he fundamentally reshaped the destiny of the Roman Empire. Yet, his story, the story of Lucius Septimius Severus, is often relegated to a footnote. This is the tale of the forgotten African emperor who didn't just rule Rome, but saved it. Our story begins not in the Forum, but in Leptis Magna, a thriving Phoenician city on the coast of what is now modern-day Libya. Septimius Severus was born there in 145 AD to a wealthy, equestrian class family. They were Roman citizens, but culturally, they were Punic, a blend of native African and Phoenician heritage. Crucially, the local language of his childhood was Punic, and he learned Latin and Greek as secondary languages, which is why later Romans noted he always retained a slight African accent. Severus was ambitious. He used his family connections to secure entry into the Roman Senate, and his political career spanned several key provinces: quaestor in Sardinia, legate in Spain, and later, governor of the strategically vital province of Pannonia Superior, modern Hungary. He was married to the formidable Julia Domna, a woman of Syrian ancestry whose brilliant intellect and vast connections would prove vital to his imperial success. Their union was a powerful example of how multicultural the Roman elite had truly become. Then came the year of the Five Emperors, 193 AD. The Emperor Commodus was assassinated, plunging the empire into chaos. General after general claimed the purple, only to be violently deposed. When the Praetorian Guard brazenly auctioned off the imperial title, the empire was at its weakest point in decades. It was here, on the Danube frontier, that Severus made his move. His legions declared him emperor. He marched on Rome, eliminated the rival claimant Didius Julianus, and prepared for the long, bloody civil war that was to follow against powerful rivals in the east, Pescennius Niger, and the west, Clodius Albinus. Severus understood one fundamental truth about the Roman Empire. The true source of power was the military. His rule was a military dictatorship, a fact he never truly tried to hide. Once his rivals were defeated in 197 AD, Severus immediately focused on the legions. He famously raised soldier pay, a massive expense that required new taxes. He granted soldiers the right to legally marry while serving, a monumental change that made military life more appealing and professional. He expanded the army by 3 new legions, increasing its size and securing the loyalty of the men who put him on the throne. His reign was dominated by warfare. He led successful campaigns against the Parthian Empire in the east, sacking their capital Ctesiphon and annexing new territory, solidifying Rome's eastern borders. But his focus wasn't just on expansion, it was on security. He heavily fortified the frontier in Africa, protecting his homeland. And in his later years, he dedicated himself to securing Britain. In 208 AD, Severus, along with his ambitious and warring sons, Caracalla and Geta, arrived in Britain. He launched massive, brutal campaigns against the Caledonian tribes north of Hadrian's Wall, rebuilding the wall and even establishing a forward line of fortifications in Scotland. Severus was determined to conquer the whole island, but the constant guerrilla warfare took its toll. Septimius Severus died in Eboracum, modern-day York, in 211 AD. His final, chilling words to his sons were a summary of his life's philosophy: be harmonious, enrich the soldiers, and scorn all others. He left behind a complex legacy. He was a brilliant administrator, responsible for major legal reforms that streamlined the imperial bureaucracy. He was a major builder. You can still see his family's name on the magnificent arch of Septimius Severus in the Roman Forum. But perhaps his most profound legacy was normalizing the idea of a non-Italian emperor. He embraced his African roots, favoring his hometown of Leptis Magna with massive, expensive building projects, turning it into one of the most beautiful cities in the empire. He was proud of his Punic heritage, and his reign demonstrated that Roman identity was no longer about birthplace, but about shared citizenship, service, and power. He founded the Severan dynasty, which, despite its turbulent and short-lived rule, marked a decisive pivot point in Roman history, cementing the military's authority and paving the way for the tumultuous 3rd century crisis. His son, Caracalla, would later grant Roman citizenship to virtually all free inhabitants of the empire, a policy that wouldn't have been possible without his father's pan-imperial vision. Septimius Severus arrived in Rome a provincial outsider and left as a giant of history. He halted the empire's spiral into chaos and rebuilt it, stronger and more diverse than ever. Next time you hear the name Septimius Severus, remember, he wasn't just a Roman emperor. He was an African emperor who showed the world that leadership and power knew no racial or geographic boundaries, a lesson that resonates strongly even today. Did you know the story of Septimius Severus before watching this? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more forgotten history, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive.